Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Wander to the Edge. My name is Adam Asher from The Edge of Adventure.
My name is Ann. I'm from Where Gals Wander.
Zan, how are you? How you doing?
I'm good. How are
Good.
you?
I'm good. I was going to ask about the weather. You're in sunny Southern California. I think
I know.
it's always beautiful there. I mean, does it ever get cold or even chilly?
It was in the 50s the last couple weeks, but next week it'll be in the 80s. So,
Okay. All right. It's a dry heat,
yes.
so you'll be fine. Yeah, I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's cold enough. I put on like a little
I saw that.
it's like a long sleeve tee or something.
Yeah.
But it got so cold here in Atlanta over the last few days that I had to roll my sleeves down.
Is that like Groundhog Day? Like you could tell how cold it is by the length of your sleeves?
Yeah, it means we're due for from here, like from here on
Yeah.
out, probably at least another 6 weeks of
Winter.
6 weeks of winter. So,
Yeah.
but listen, winter is a great thing to talk about today because we have a great guest, a travel influencer. You're going to get to know her today, and you're going to enjoy that. But I think actually, where she's joining us from, it actually is cold. So we won't, yeah, give away her location just yet. But we're looking forward to having Nova Tregaskis join us today.
Yes. So Nova, she is just, I don't know, her account is so fun to follow. Her photography is breathtaking and her content, well, I mean, she's a pro, literally, she's pro. And so wanted to have her on and chat a little bit about what life is like where she's at and just get a little winter vibe going, celebrate the season.
Indeed, she's traveled around and she's got a great website. We're going to get some tips about travel because she's lived in so many different locations. And she also has a wonderful accent. And we're going to hear that next, right here on.
Wander to the edge.
No.
Hi.
Welcome to the program. Great to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So,
Happy dry January.
I see you're doing well.
is that happy though? I mean,
I am happy now.
okay.
Dry January is a terrible idea.
Yeah, especially now with everything going on.
Harder than ever.
Nova, it is great to have you on the show. Great to meet you officially. Have been following you for a while. Impressed by your social media accounts and your website and just everything that you bring to the travel industry. And I know you're a pro. We're going to get into that. But first off, let's just thank you for taking the time today to share your story.
Well, thank you guys. I'm really excited to be here and my first podcast. So, yeah, go easy on me.
We've got lots of tough questions. And let's start with this one. You are joining the show today from what location?
So, I'm in beautiful Whistler, BC, so British Columbia in Canada. It's kind of a winter wonderland right now. It's an incredible like snowboard ski destination, all round like amazing tourist spot, and I'm really lucky to live here full time. So yeah.
Zan, I had no idea that British Columbia had such a beautiful accent.
I'm a fraud.
You grew up.
You never comment on my Chicago accent, though, Adam. Just pointing that out.
I mean, because honestly, do you really have one, like a Chicago accent?
I'm told I do. I know that your Southern accent comes out after a few
does.
drinks. Yeah.
It comes out after a couple podcasts.
Yeah.
But yes, I gotta say, Nova, your accent is a beautiful accent. So tell us that story too. You are originally from Australia.
I am, yes. I'm from Sydney. So the northern beaches of Sydney is kind of where I grew up. gorgeous. Like also like one of the most beautiful places on earth. I think it's funny because when I moved to Canada and I tell people I'm from Sydney, they're like, why would you leave Australia for Canada? It's always like grass is greener, but yeah, it's another beautiful part of the world, sort of famous for surfing, and yeah, you guys know what Sydney's all about. So two pretty awesome places to call home.
You did go from one extreme to the other, though.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I actually did a snowboard season when I was 19 on our university break and just fell in love with Canada and snowboarding, and kind of been back and forth ever since, like about 15 years, and love it.
So snowboarding big in Sydney?
No. No, definitely not. So surfing is the board sport that's big in Sydney. Snowboarding, we do actually have some mountains, which does surprise people. You can go snowboarding about 6 hours from Sydney. It's not so great though. It doesn't really compare with what they've got going on in Canada.
Well, I love the little hat. It looks so cute. It goes with the whole winter wonderland vibe that you have going on.
Yes, it's hiding my helmet hair from snowboarding this morning.
Okay. And I mean, every time, at least when you post on Instagram, you're always out like snowboarding, snowshoeing, photography. Like you're outside almost all the time, it looks like.
Yeah, that's pretty true. And I think this year has kind of cemented more than ever how important it is to be outside, and I think live somewhere that you can be outside. So obviously with the dreaded COVID that everyone's been dealing with, outdoors is the only reliable place where we're always allowed to be. So it's been kind of crucial for like mental health and happiness, and yeah, just love being outside as much as possible.
Listen, I understand that, not every experience that you've ever had in Canada has been good. I mean, there was a time, I think, where they actually stopped you and tried to deport you, right?
True. So my second time coming back into Canada, the first time I spent about 2 months doing a snowboard season just on my uni break, as I said, and I had kind of done like a work for your board situation. So meaning like I worked at the hostel cleaning rooms, etc., and then I got to stay for free. So the next time I was coming back into Canada, they actually stopped me from coming in, and I was trying to come in for 5 months without a working visa. And after that 3 to 6 month mark, it's kind of up to them whether they let you come in. So unfortunately for me, I'll never forget Tina, who was the Border Patrol lady, who did not appreciate me coming in without a job for 5 months. So I was asked to not enter Canada. So it's kind of a dramatic story. I was put in handcuffs and put in a cell. And yeah, it was crazy, like 20 years old and no idea that kind of thing could happen. And wasn't allowed to make a phone call. And then, yeah, sort of 24 hours later, sent on a flight back home to Australia. It was very surreal. It was crazy, but here I am.
Yeah. So take us through exactly what happened. So at first you made it sound very Canadian, very polite. Yeah. We asked that you not enter our country. And then in the next sentence, you're handcuffed in a cell.
Right. So I was making light of it like it was a funny story. Now I feel bad.
No, don't worry. My fiance getting extorted in the Congo, that was a funny story. So you should
I'm sorry, say that again.
My fiance was actually put in a jail cell in the Congo in Africa, and held for about a week. So he has some pretty crazy stories as well. So sometime we'll have to ask him about that. But that's his story to tell. But mine, yeah, less dramatic than that, but not so polite, I would say. The Canadian border guards, I think they were pretty sick of Australians coming over because we love the snowboard winters in Canada. And I think there were quite a few Aussies working under the table. So even though I hadn't actually done anything wrong because I wasn't technically paid for the work I'd done last time, she was pretty on to the fact that I was coming in for I think I wanted to come in for 4 months or something like that. And I was going to live with my boyfriend and just snowboard and, live the life. And yeah, they grilled me for about 8 hours. Ended up going through my phone book because it was, 16 years ago, so I didn't have a cell phone book. Found a bunch of phone numbers of Canadians I'd worked with the previous year, just started calling phone numbers. Found someone that said they worked with me, and then they were like, right, you worked here illegally, we'd like for you to withdraw your application to enter Canada. So I honestly, I think I was just young, and when you're that age, you just don't know what's right and wrong, and I could have definitely probably fought it. Like, she basically said, you can call your consulate, but if you do that, you're creating more work for me, and I might make it so you can never come back. Or you can just withdraw your application to enter Canada. We'll send you home, and then you can go and get a visa and come back, which is what I ended up doing. So within 2 weeks, I was back in Canada with a working visa. But yeah, it was pretty wild.
What was the worst part? Wasn't the red uniform?
She wasn't a Mountie. I think the Mounties are nice. Everyone loves a Mountie, but no, she was a TSA sort of border guard, and she was definitely on a power trip. She kept pointing at her badge and saying, respect my badge, and you're not allowed to cry, because of course I'm crying.
Adam says that to me all the time. I'm not allowed to cry.
I honestly didn't realize they had these many rules in Canada.
Honestly, I've been to the US a million times, and I think the US gets a lot of flack for being poor with people trying to come in, but I've never had a tough time. I've been there hundreds of times. My fiance's American, no issues, but Canada just totally done the story, and it was kind of crazy. So for about 10 years, I actually had to go through a secondary screening every single time I came into Canada, and I travel a lot, so it was a huge pain. Yeah, so it was a whole ordeal.
Well, let's talk about the travel side of it. So you travel a great deal. Tell us a little bit why, and where do you go?
Yeah, great question. Everyone loves to talk about their travels, I think, more than anything, me especially. So I grew up with pretty cool parents that they deal Asian art and antiques. So I grew up traveling from basically since I was a baby, and I blame my parents for the travel bug. I think, out of high school, pretty much what I wanted to do was travel. So I went to university, but on any break I had, I would kind of take off. So my first love was Canada, which is why I've ended up immigrating and spending a lot of my life here. But from here, I think what's great about Canada versus Australia is it's a lot more central. You can get to a lot more places around the world a lot quicker, cheaper, and easier than you can living on an island at the bottom of the world. So I think my favorite place is Africa. I've traveled there 4 times and love it. Like safari, I don't think there's anything better. South Africa is probably my favorite country. But yeah, it's hard to say. There's so many amazing places.
And from a professional standpoint, so you have your own website.
Yes.
And I'm sure Adam has something to flip up on the screen for that. But tell us a little bit about how you got started turning this passion for travel into basically your profession. This is what you do.
Yeah. So, I worked prior to the website, I worked for about 11 years for I think it's the 5th biggest travel company in the world called Flight Centre Travel Group. So I worked for them in different capacities. I was a travel agent. Then I managed Vancouver. So all of about 25 different travel agencies across Vancouver. Then I was a project manager for them, and then a leadership coach. And then finally, my last job with them, which was up until October last year, was working as a product manager for Canada. And so that afforded me, I can't even tell you how much that helped me travel. So you know, it was things like I had a lot of work trips just being in senior leadership with them. So we would travel all around the world, different conferences. So I have to thank Flight Centre for, you know, a lot of my work travels. And then from there, I sort of decided that I wanted to do my own thing. And my background, my degree is actually in writing. So I wanted to tie in my love for travel and then my love for writing, which is why I started the website Nova Travels. And I've got, I mean, there's so much I could do on there, but I think I've been focusing mainly on sort of getting a lot of content around Canada, BC, and then Australia, obviously Sydney and a lot of places I've traveled in Australia, just because that's my main area of expertise. And sort of, you know, places like Iceland, which I love more than anything because it's so beautiful and outdoorsy. And yeah, so that's sort of what I've been working on. And the Instagram Nova Travels is what I started about a year ago, doing the Instagram stuff along with the website. So initially started the Instagram just to drive traffic to my website, but I've actually been spending more time on the Instagram stuff than the website.
Yeah.
It's just
it puts you in. I know.
Yeah, it gets you. Yeah.
So starting a business, is that a challenge? And then, of course, you have to also look at it in terms of the last year we've all had. Walk us through that side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say I started the business as more of a side project, a passion project. And I wasn't sure exactly where it was going to go. I just love writing about travel and I love traveling. So I just wanted I wanted to be able to share my expertise. And just for me, I like that creative output. So I didn't necessarily start it with a huge monetary goal in mind. And it wasn't until I started it that I realized that you can actually, if you focus on it, you can make good money off a blog. If you have like essentially like affiliate marketing is the main thing where you can make an earning. And then Instagram obviously is a whole other beast that some people have just, it's exploded for them. So I think the challenge has definitely been COVID, obviously. So it's kind of sometimes felt, you know, in the beginning, I wasn't sure exactly which direction to go with it. And I kind of stopped posting a lot of the more international tips and dreaming sort of stuff for people because it seemed a bit redundant, obviously with people not being able to travel. So I do a little bit of that here and there, but I also have just mainly been focusing on Canada and BC, and just where I am at that point and focusing on that actual region versus so much of the international stuff. I'd rather have a local base, be able to get tips that they can actually use. But yeah, it's been a challenge. I think with anything to do with travel this year, obviously you guys know, it's like nothing we've ever experienced. This industry has never experienced anything like this. So yeah, it's been crazy.
I want to ask about the photography because your photography is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sure that we have people watching who I know are fanatics about photography. Like they're going to want to know, what kind of camera do you use? All that kind of stuff. I shoot everything on my iPhone. So, because again, technical prowess, as you saw, as we tried to get set up.
Yeah.
So, so share with us kind of like what you're working with.
iPhone as well. So pretty much exclusively use iPhone 11. So again, when I got the website going and got my Instagram set up, number one thing was upgrading my phone, which made a hell of a difference. And I think the reality is you can take amazing photos with your phone now. You don't have to have a crazy camera. And I'm not going for photographer of the year with anything I'm doing because that's not my background. And I love photos, obsessed with photos, love taking them, but I'm not in any way a pro at it. I think, you know, I think you can do a lot with your phone, especially in the Instagram space. Like the images are pretty small. So it's not like they need to look incredible. You know, they just need to translate. iPhone for me. My fiance's a Samsung guy, so we battled that out a little bit, and he takes some of the photos as well. Like, he's got a good eye for it, and I think just framing and taking a bunch and just picking the best one would be two of my tips.
I think your passion for just being outdoors just comes through so much in your photography too. You know, not just the technical expertise, but you just, I don't know, you feel that love for it and you almost feel like you're there. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think going to beautiful places, that's the number one thing. Like, if I'm lucky, my backyard is so incredible. And the places that we visit are generally, what I focus on is natural beauty. I mean, I love cities too, but definitely not the past year. Been avoiding, you know, any majorly busy places. But yeah, natural beauty, if you're in a place of natural beauty, it just makes it easy.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite locations there in BC?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I'm definitely biased towards Whistler. It's probably my favorite place on earth, maybe. I don't know what you guys know about it, but it's pretty incredible. It's about 2 hours from Vancouver, and it's famous for it is the biggest ski resort in North America. So I think one of the Park City might have just with maybe taken over, but it's a huge ski area. It's absolutely gorgeous for forests, wildlife. Like, we see bears all the time. Lakes, it's surrounded in lakes. So summer is amazing for swimming. It's a huge mountain bike destination. Yeah, like, that was my view not that long ago. Just winter wonderland. So gorgeous.
I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah.
It's so beautiful. Like, it's mesmerizing just looking at this.
I know.
Yeah. So, I mean, the other cool thing about Whistler is you've got all this outdoors, like, you can go to areas where you will not see another person. But then you also have amazing dining. So you've got this closed in pedestrian village with, like, just world-class restaurants, like après-ski, great places to have drinks, and there's lots to do, which I love about it. So Whistler, definitely. And then obviously, like, you can't beat the Rockies. The Rocky Mountains are just stunning, like Lake Louise, Banff. My only complaint is how busy they get. So I think one of the big things is trying to go in off season to somewhere like Lake Louise and Whistler. Not Whistler. Whistler's fine in busy season, but Lake Louise and Banff, it just gets super, super busy. That shot there is actually Wedgemount Lake, which is about 20 minutes north of Whistler, and it's about a 3-hour hike in, and it's just like, you feel like you're in Iceland. Like, it just looks crazy. Other than that, like, Vancouver's an incredible city. Quebec, Montreal, if you're wanting to head over more towards the east, get that sort of European vibe. Canada just totally stole my heart. There's so many places I could go on. Also, one I should mention is the Yukon. So the Yukon, I think, is probably one of the most under talked about spots in Canada. It's about a 2-hour flight from Vancouver. It's below Alaska. And so you've got a lot of that same Alaskan remote wilderness, incredible, incredible mountains and landscapes, and then amazing wildlife and just northern lights as well. So you don't have to go all the way to Scandinavia. You can literally hop on a 2-hour flight from Vancouver and you can see the northern lights, go dog sledding. It's awesome.
Just looking at your photos, I want to grab a blanket and a cup of cocoa and just, you know what I mean? Like, snuggle up by the window. You just have such a way of capturing the scene, you know, just so beautiful.
Yes. And that's the place, right? Yeah.
Now, is that your fiance with you in these photos that we're looking at now?
Yeah. The bearded guy that's in most of the photos, that's Mark. It was his birthday yesterday, so we went skiing with some friends, and then we had some après-ski drinks. Yeah, so we actually met through the travel industry. He works for a company called Intrepid Travel, so they're the biggest adventure tour operator in the world. They do sort of small group adventures, 12 people and under. And yeah, we met through work, and He loves to travel. He's a crazy good skier. I'm always chasing him down the mountain. And he's a epic hiker as well. Like, I think when he was 22, he hiked the Appalachian Trail for 4 months or something like that by himself. So yeah, he's got crazy stories and we have a good time.
And did you meet in Canada, or did you meet like on the road, or, you know, so to speak?
Yeah, we actually met in Vancouver. So he moved to Vancouver a few years after me. I lived in Vancouver for about 10 years up until March this year when we moved full-time to Whistler. So he moved there maybe 8 years ago for the job to be the sales rep for the company he worked for. We're friends for almost 2 years before we started dating, and we've been engaged about 2 years. Yeah, so been together like 6 or 7 years, and yeah, very thankful that I met him through my job as well.
All right. As an experienced traveler, what would be maybe a couple of your top travel tips? Things you've learned, maybe some things that aren't the most obvious to everybody.
Yep, love that question. I think that probably my number one is the time that you travel somewhere, like as in the shoulder season versus busy season. My biggest thing is not going somewhere when it's crazy, crazy busy. So obviously over tourism is a huge issue, not this year. But with over tourism, you're getting destinations like Venice is a great example where it's ruining the architecture from the cruise ships. There's a lot of really negative impacts on the local economy and population because they're getting pushed out of their home just by the expense of tourism. So I think, you know, if you want to experience these destinations, which you should, Venice is one of the most beautiful places on earth, for example. Same with Iceland. Just try and pick when you go, because if you go in the middle of summer, July, August, you're just going to be swept up in a crowd of people and it's not going to feel like the magic that it is at other times of year. Like we were in Italy last December. We went to Venice, Rome, and there was no one there. There were no tourists. It was like beautiful, all decked out for Christmas. We paid probably a third of the price for accommodation, activities, etc., just because they were desperate to get people into their restaurants or to do things. There's no lines. So that's probably my number one, is just be wary of avoiding peak season. And then I think the other thing is slow travel is another big thing where I've learned through many years of travel that I actually prefer to really experience a place, to go there and spend a bit more time there versus, you know, if it's someone's first trip to Europe and they're worried they won't make it back there or they want to see everything, they might have 10 days, but they're going to 8 different countries in 10 days and you're basically spending the time on a plane or a train. So I think for me, slow travel is the thing where you go and you spend, you know, a week in Buenos Aires, and then you go and you spend 2 weeks in Bariloche or, you know, down south or whatever. If you're going to Argentina, just doing Argentina or a couple areas in a couple weeks versus trying to do like 4 different countries. So yeah, slowing it down is the other big one for me.
What is the most epic trip that you've been on? Like, how long has the trip been, and what have you kind of done during that time?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good one too. I think that's tough. I guess the most recent one I can think of is Mark and I both took sabbaticals from work. So that being a 4-month leave of absence where I was granted the time off work. I wasn't paid during that time, and I took the 4 months off, and we did 6 weeks or 2 months traveling around Australia and spending time in Sydney with my family. We went to Tasmania, Melbourne, just traveled a lot of Oz. And then we went to South America and we spent 2 months in Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, and Brazil. So that was a really, really good trip. Just loved having that, especially that 2 months in South America. It's a pretty unreal place. And I loved getting, that time there was really good.
Adam, have you ever been to South America?
I've been a couple of times. I love it there. I think I'm gonna go right after this.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, uh, yes, it is. And the thing my favorite thing of what you just said is about the slow travel, or to take the time. And I've done it both ways, right? Where you try to go and I'm there for 6 days, and you basically pack 9 days worth of things in it, or 12 days into 6 days, and it's just you're running and you're rushing. You're not really getting to enjoy things. And then the flip side of it is, if you go to a place and you are willing to go and stay, right? Which means the sacrifice is you're not going to get to see everything. You're not going to see everything there is if you're there for a week, but go and stay in a location and get to know the place and see what you can, do, get to within a day trip, and take it easy. The other thing too, for those who are traveling on vacation, or as Seema would probably say, on holiday.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so if you're doing that, and you've got a week or two, you've also got to rest. You don't want to go and then you're already kind of exhausted from work, and then you go and then spend all your time rushing around. So I think I like that. I like that a lot. Listen, you've got a great website. It's a beautiful website,
Thank you.
novatravels.org. For those that are going to go check it out after viewing this, what are they going to find? Your website is what?
It's really tips and recommendations. So I think it's what I've learned over, my travels, and especially focused on outdoor travel, BC, Canada, Australia, especially, but there's a lot of good stuff on Iceland and Italy and other things like that. So I think the biggest thing is I just want to impart any wisdom I can, any locals tips. I think the best trips you can have are the ones where you have actual recommendations from locals or people that have been there. That's what makes it. So that's the biggest thing. I just want to improve people's travels, give them something to dream about, and make sure that when they actually arrive in destination, they've maybe read a few articles or gone and looked at a few of my tips and been able to either book something better than they would have, or go to a place that they wouldn't have thought that they would have come across in Italy or wherever. So I think that's what it's kind of all about. There's a few articles in there that are more like, we got charged by an elephant in Africa, and I talk about that experience. So there's an article about that happenings, and that's just more like a fun read because it's kind of crazy. So yeah, there's a few articles about that's more of a read, and then a lot of it is really just around like great food, great things to do. I love a good drink, and yeah, those kind of recommendations.
I noticed the happy hours that you have listed there. Where to go on all the happy hours for all your travels?
Yep, that's key. Like, love a good happy hour, especially like there's a full Iceland list because it's so expensive to go for drinks out in Iceland. Basically, the only way you can do it is if you hit a happy hour. But yeah, there's some great ones in Whistler that we go to a lot. And yeah, it's funny because I'm so into happy hours, and then half the time I go and I order something that's not on the happy hour menu. So I'm like craving something else, but it feels great to go for happy hour.
Especially after you've been charged by an elephant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quick question. How much did the elephant charge you?
How much? Quite a lot. He lost his tusk actually, so it cost him more than us, I think. So, yeah, good question.
All right, I want to hear the story about the elephant charging you. Go ahead and share with us your tale.
So it was actually on my birthday, which is September, and it was about 2 years ago. We were in Botswana, so in Chobe National Park, which is absolutely stunning. It's one of the most beautiful places you can do a safari. So we're in a pretty big safari style truck, which is like quite lifted off the ground. It's heavy metal, almost like army grade, and it has these metal bars that go across like a roll cage. No windows, no seat belts. You can probably see where this is going, but we drove down towards the Chobe River. It's like something like, out of The Lion King. There's the sun's setting, there's elephants everywhere bathing, there's giraffes. It's absolutely stunning. So we drive down and we're really close to a bunch of elephants that were in the river. And this one bigger sort of bull elephant came out of the river, and he was walking between our truck and then the truck in front of us. He looked at us, and our driver revved the engine, and he kind of faked as if he was going away, and then he ended up just whipped his whole head back and charged our truck. And so, like, all of our hearts started beating out of our chest. I know mine did. And the driver's like revving the engine. He goes back and he whips us again, and this time the truck goes up onto two wheels. And like I'm like holding on to Mark, and I'm thinking, like, if the truck flips, like, no worries about the elephant, hopefully, but we will be crushed. Like, this thing is super heavy. So we went sort of right up on two wheels. He shattered his tusk across us. We're covered in mud and tusk. Like, Mark was sitting closest to him, and he felt the elephant on his arm. Like, the elephant's face touched his arm. And then the truck just tipped, thought we were going over. It righted itself, and our driver took off. And so the Chobe and the driver in front of us took off. And the Chobe River has like a dry riverbed at that point where the one driver went that way straight, and then our driver peeled off into the riverbed. So the elephant ended up chasing the other truck. We're in the riverbed and we get stuck. So he's chasing the other truck. They get away. He turns around and starts charging back at us. So we're all screaming, like, go, go, go. Like, this elephant was like the Terminator. He just didn't give up. And we see him, like, they're super fast. I had no idea how fast elephants could be. We end up getting out of the hole, thankfully, like, before driving up, and we got up on the bank and we were fine. So it ended up being totally, totally fine. But it was pretty scary for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm 0 for 2. I make light of a story. I try to make a joke and then kind of find out there's like a real scary story behind it. And what I'm learning about Nova is, I mean, when she says she's got a good story, she's got a good story. Like, she's not kidding. Like,
Right.
when she says, "Oh, I was charged by an elephant," some people would come up with that and just because the elephant started walking toward them.
Well, I think she's just trying not to acknowledge any of your dad jokes that you've been making the whole time.
I know. I was wondering if it was lost in translation, right? We speak the same language, right? I mean, I think we do.
It's American, Australian,
Yes.
we're on the same page, but.
So, and we've got a few pictures here, which I'm going to show. Now, some of them we saw when we were looking at the Instagram page. Some of them will be repeats, but we'll look at some of the others. But in the meantime, now these are not all clearly from Australia, but I'm also curious, I don't know, a couple of your top 2 or 3 locations down under.
That's tough. Australia is, obviously I'm biased, but it's incredible. So huge diversity in what it offers. Obviously what it's famous for is beaches. So I would say if you're going for beaches, head to the Whitsundays would be probably my top pick, which is famous for sort of a white sand beach, crystal clear water. You can only get there by boat. It's on and off voted in the top couple beaches in the world. A lot of people like to do a sailing trip when they head out to the Whitsundays, which last time I went, we did a 4-day, stayed on the boat, did a sailing trip around. It's absolutely stunning. And it feels very pristine. Like, you won't see a ton of tourists around. So that one, definitely. Another one, if people love the outdoors, and it would be Tasmania. Tasmania is, again, like, pretty underrated. It's incredible hiking. There's mountains. There's a lot of unique wildlife that is unique to Tasmania. And yeah, it's gorgeous. It's also got great wine. So it produces some of the best sparkling wine outside of Champagne. So there's tons of amazing wine regions, really famous for seafood as well. So Tassie would be number 2. And then I obviously have to say Sydney because that's my hometown, and it just has so much to offer, from, the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge. It's probably the most beautiful harbour in the world, I think, and cityscape and skyline. And and then you've got really great beaches within an arm's throw of a city, which I think is pretty unique. Great dining. Yeah, love Sydney. Yeah, that would be my top 3.
When travel resumes, where's one place you want to go next?
I am dying to go to Kenya to do a safari there. I'm a huge animal lover, and I don't think there's anything I love more than going on safari and seeing animals in the wild. So I've never been to Kenya, and in Tanzania I've just done Zanzibar. So I'd like to go and do a East Africa safari would be sort of my number 1 on the list, as well as Galapagos Islands. Never done that, and I'd love to.
So, since you speak Australian,
I do, Nate.
what's a great Aussie expression that we just don't get? Like it's always lost on us.
We like to swear a lot in Australia, so I'm scared to say. I won't say the full expression, but we're not here to F spiders is a classic. It means we're not here to mess around. I don't know if you've heard that one, but it's a really, I'm not here to F spiders is like a classic, what we would call a bogan expression, a bogan being an Australian redneck. Yeah. And we love the g'day. We love the good g'day. We love a no worries, which I think has permeated through the world at this point.
Yeah, we like those. Those we get. But
You
yes,
get
the spider one, that's I don't think we would understand what that means.
No, it's an acquired taste.
Oh, I can just picture Anya incorporating that into her vocabulary.
Right. Actually, she's watching this and she's taking notes.
I know.
And she's going to write it out in all caps.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I couldn't think of a good one that didn't have a swear word in it. That's very Australian. Yeah.
Well, what made me think of that is what did you called Tasmania? What'd you call Tasmania?
Tassie.
Tassie, yes.
Yeah. We like to shorten everything. We don't like to say more than 2 syllables if at all possible. So if we can take something longer and make it shorter, we will do it. And if it's too short, we'll add a second syllable sometimes. So if your name is Dave, you'll become Davo. That's just what happens.
2 syllables. You got to go for the 2 syllables. All right.
And see, I thought I was trying to make it easier, just shortening my name to Zan. Now I don't know what to do.
Zano.
Zano. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
liking that.
don't even
Hold
think
on.
about it,
I'm
Pappy.
writing this down. You want 1 N or 2 N's? That's up to you. That part's up to you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That's fine, Pappy. I will remember that well.
So are the kangaroos as nice as they look on TV?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. They're pretty friendly guys. Around our neighborhood, so by my parents' place, which is Sydney's Northern Beaches, we have wallabies. So rock wallabies are sort of like a cuter, smaller, little fuzzier black guy. So they're still like, maybe half the size of a kangaroo. They're really cute. I still think kangaroos are about the funniest looking animal out there. They're pretty unique, and they do get in boxing matches with each other. So I definitely wouldn't want to take on a kangaroo. That's for sure.
Adam, who do we have on the show that got beat up by a kangaroo? I can't remember who it was, but they had food in their purse, and the kangaroo went after their food. Was that Carrie?
I'm thinking that might have been Carrie.
Carrie from Bicoastal Disorder? Yeah.
We'll.
Or no. It was Susan from Big Wild World.
Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I would not want that to happen to me. They're pretty strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see the videos, right? And they're kind of an unusual animal anyway, and we always associate them with Australia. But when you see these videos, the real life videos, like when I don't know if they're getting territorial or they look like they could be pretty dangerous. And I don't know that they would pack a punch, but a kick for sure.
Oh, yeah, yes, definitely. It would take you out. Like the big red ones, the big gray ones, like you don't see those anywhere close to cities. They're pretty much like in the country. So I haven't seen that many of them, but they will. Yeah, I wouldn't get too close to them.
So, speaking of wildlife and Australia, what would be the reaction if Adam showed up in Australia? What would they think of him?
Oh, you'd fit right in, Adam. Like you go to Melbourne and with the beard and your sort of low voice, I think you'd pass for a sort of a beer loving Melbourne hipster guy. Yeah, I think you'd do well. But they do love an accent, so I think you'd be pretty popular.
No, wait a minute. I have an accent? I was not aware that I had an accent.
You sure do.
Okay. All right. I mean, to me, this is the normal way. This is normal talk. Well, I hope to get down there and see it for myself one day. I would love to do that. And Nova Tregaskis is our
That's
guest
right.
today. Nova, you've got your first name is easy, and I love that name. It's very easy to remember. It's got it's got branding to it. And Tregaskis, I think,
And two syllables, yeah.
and two syllables. And but also too, like with your last name, it's a last name, Tregaskis. Once you learn that, you'll never forget it. So that's a great.
It's an intense name. It's caused me all sorts of dramas through my life.
But you came up with a very, very easy to remember website, novatravels.org, novatravels.org. Beautiful website. We've talked about all the great things that it contains. And honestly, listening to you talk, it is, I can see, of course, you're a great writer too, but you have so many great stories to tell. You have this appreciation for the locations and the culture. And I just encourage everybody to check it out. And if they aren't already following you on social media, they need to pop over there and do that. You can look Nova up online at Facebook would be Nova Travels, Nova, Nova Travels. And then on Instagram, it's Nova Travels with the underscore at the end. Nova Travels, then with the underscore.
And I just want to remind folks watching this episode, speaking of social media, don't forget that you can watch this episode and you can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yes. And you don't need to, here's the thing, don't just watch it. Subscribe, like, follow. I mean, help us out. Right. And then if you really want to be good to us, then you share it, right? You also share it and, help us out, guys. We appreciate your help. And Nova, I think here's what's going to happen now. All right. You've been on the show, Wander to the Edge, and we like to use the hashtag Friends Talking Travel. And we do that. Obviously, we're talking travel, but there very much is this sense of friendship that our little piece of the travel tribe has. And we care a great deal about each other. Just this larger group out there, everybody's so supportive. And you are about to get, if people aren't already following you, they're about to. And I hope you guys will. Tell Nova how much fun it was to have her on the show. Ask her some questions about British Columbia. Ask her some questions about Australia, kangaroos, and Tassie. I was trying to say right?
Yeah.
Tassie. Okay. And just remember 2 syllables. Keep it easy. And so, yes, thanks everybody for joining us. Nova, honestly, great conversation. You're very, very easy to talk to. You're a great communicator. And we appreciate your passion for travel and people and places. And thanks for sharing that with us today.
Oh, thank you guys. It's been lovely chatting with you and getting to know you a little bit. And I can't wait to have some new friends. So thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it. So
me too. Lots of fun.
Great times, everybody. Well, we're going to let everybody get back to their Saturday. Thanks for taking time out of your day, everybody watching. We appreciate that. And wherever you are, I'm sure it's not as cold as it is in British Columbia. So, all right, go, Nova. Why don't you go snowboard or something,
All
and
right.
we'll talk later, right?
Bye,
Right
guys.
here on our favorite program that we call
Wander to the edge.